Lexie Gray's death was by far the saddest death on Grey's Anatomy.
No one was safe after George died. George O'Malley deserved better. He was the heart and soul of the beginning of Grey's Anatomy, and even though he became sort of a secondary character before he left, which is a separate issue in my opinion, he at least deserved a less tragic send-off.
Lexie Gray's death was hands down the saddest of the entire series, because not only did it echo through so many other characters, but it was an abruptly cut off storyline that felt like it was just about to be on the rise.
George's death is clearly the saddest because he was the first major character death. He was in the original core of the interns who we met on the first episode. Everyone loved George, everyone had a special relationship with George, and his death was just so heartbreaking. And it changed the show, that no one was safe after George died.
I can't argue that George's death wasn't sad. When I think about the effect that it has on everybody else, and especially on Meredith, who is ostensibly the main character,
Sure.
and that Lexie was the first family member she had really ever gotten close to and trusted, the devastation of her death on Meredith, that made it the saddest for me.
The issue with Lexie's death, which I would like to add a footnote, which is I don't like Lexie that much, but I understand that she was beloved by many. In the plane crash, there was so much going on. Mark was so injured, and Arizona's leg, and Christina's the screaming, and the Derek hand, and da-da-da-da-da, that Lexie's death kind of got lost in
The
it.
circumstances that happened after the plane crash, I think those really contributed to what made Lexie's death so sad. For me, there's this sense of powerlessness as you're watching it happen, where you know that if they had had proper equipment, if they'd been in an OR, she probably would have survived. You see her storyline with Mark really coming to this climax
sad.
as he watches her die.
The fact that they didn't even know that it was George until right before he died, and he wrote the 007 on her hand, and he was unrecognizable, and he died by saving a stranger from being hit by a bus. That's so George.
Even though it was so characteristically George, right, to sacrifice himself to save a stranger, I still just felt like the drama didn't quite work for me.
No. It was just so heartbreaking that he never got a chance to have a comeback or anything. He was so close to going and being in the army and refinding his inspiration for what he does, and then Bailey named her son after him. George was the heart of this show.
George made the sacrifice, but Lexie was cut off in a different way that she couldn't have chosen or foreseen. The whole series progresses. It has to evolve through 15, now 16 seasons about to start? You can't just have the same people the whole time, so the deaths are a necessary part of the whole thing, but...
And George was the first.
Yeah.
Big death. I mean, people die all the time, it's a hospital show, but always important in my heart, my one true love, George O'Malley.
There is something especially sad about someone choosing to leave, because you're given the sense that none of them would choose to leave this community that they have.
George was the first main character to die on Grey's Anatomy, and it really changed the course of the show forever, showing us that no one was safe, even the most beloved, cutest, most amazing doctors like George O'Malley.
Lexie Gray's death was by far the saddest death on Grey's Anatomy. Meredith, our main character, had finally learned to trust a family member and let someone close to her. Let's face it, George was about to be off the show anyway, whether he died or not.
Show sounds bonkers.
It is.
Oh, it's incredible.
It's insane. It's not fair. Shonda's wild. Love you, girl. Be sure to subscribe down below to make sure you catch all of our new videos, which we release every week.